Brower, followed by Kitty YouTube, followed by Sally Beers, followed by Linda Starr.
Good evening, councillors. My name is Candace Brower, and I'm a resident of District 4. First, I would like to thank councillors Benton, Davis, and Winter for co-sponsoring the ordinance for ranked choice voting, for which I am here today to express my support. It is well known that incumbents tend to prefer whatever voting system got them elected in the first place. So it is to the credit of councillors Benton and Davis that they would put the interests of the voters before their own, given that they are both up for re-election this fall. The most important reason for adopting RCV by ordinance rather than putting it to a vote is that we would immediately save up to $1 million this year alone. In my own District 4, 5 candidates are competing for the seat left open by Brad Winter's retirement, virtually guaranteeing the need for a runoff election. Why force voters to choose their top candidate in November only to return in December to register their backup choices when all this could be accomplished at once using a ranked choice ballot? As for the idea of leaving it up to the voters to decide whether to adopt ranked choice voting, I believe it is the City Council's responsibility in this case to do what is in the best interests of voters. Albuquerque voters made their wishes clear back in 2013 when they voted to switch from a plurality system to a majority system, so there's no reason to ask them this question again. Given that Santa Fe and Las Cruces have already approved ranked choice voting by ordinance, our own City Council should follow suit and adopt this common sense reform. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Gerald Q2, is that right? I'm sorry.
That's pretty good. Good evening, councilors. My name is Jerry Q2, and I'm a resident in District 4 also. Councilor Harris's ranked choice voting proposal, which was passed out of committee by a majority, cites good reasons why RCV should be implemented. Those same benefits were cited in the proposed RCV Municipal Elections Ordinance Amendment, sponsored by Councilors Benton, Davis, and Winter. Ranked choice voting will be a clear improvement over the current runoff system put in place by voters in 2013. Because of the numerous advantages of RCV, in particular, saving the city millions of dollars over the next several years, I question putting RCV to another city vote rather than implementing it directly by ordinance. The people have already demonstrated a preference for majority winners for mayoral and councilor elections. If RCV is hardwired into the city charter by vote, it will be more difficult to make incremental adjustments later. Furthermore, if RCV is approved by vote in 2019, it could not go into effect until later, whereas if it were instituted as an ordinance now, it could be implemented in the city elections later this year, potentially saving the city $1.5 million or more. I urge you all to expeditiously implement ranked choice voting by ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sally Beers, followed by Linda Starr, followed by Lucille Long.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Sally Beers. I'm a resident of District 6. I understand some of the members of the council feel that the issue of ranked choice voting, as it has to do with voting in elections, needs to go to the voters. I respectfully urge you to reconsider this stance. State law clearly allows for cities such as Albuquerque that already have a runoff system in its charter to change from a top 2 runoff to a ranked choice runoff and do this by ordinance. Look at our neighbor Las Cruces. It's the second largest city in the state and historically also has had dismal voter turnout. Not only did their governing body do right by their residents by adopting ranked choice by ordinance, but they did so unanimously. Those who were going to be running in this upcoming election, including the mayor, were 100% behind this. They rightly made this decision because it's good policy that that will encourage voter engagement and turnout. They also felt that saving up to $1 million taxpayer dollars is also good governance. This is money that the city of Las Cruces could spend on more worthwhile projects rather than on unnecessary runoff elections. I ask you please make the correct and courageous decision, as is your duty, to do right by the residents of this great city and adopt ranked choice by ordinance unanimously, as the governing body of Las Cruces did. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Linda, please follow with any applause. Linda Starr, followed by Lucille Long, followed by Athena Cristo Delu.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Linda Starr, and I'm in District 6, and I've been a resident of Albuquerque for going on 47 years, and I love it here, and I'll never leave until the end. I just want to express my opinion on ranked choice voting. I think that we should not put obstacles in voters' way. We should make it as easy as possible for voters to get out the vote, to get out there and vote. We shouldn't put, we shouldn't make it harder for them to vote and have them vote more often, confusing things. So we should make it as simple as we can for them to get out and vote. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Lucille Long, followed by Athena Cristo Delu, followed by Eric Shimamoto. Ms. Long?
Good evening, councilors. I just wanted to commend all the leaders of the community of Albuquerque, the mayor, and everyone who engaged. I'm with the Nob Hill Neighborhood Association, and I'm on their public safety committee, so I just want to commend the leaders of our city for bringing in state police and Bernalillo County sheriffs to collaborate to help stop crime that is just so out of control in this city. I also am here to talk about needles in the parks again. I brought this up at the last meeting, and needles in public spaces. We do not have a true needle exchange program. We are seeing excess needles in the parks and needle users in the parks, homeless trash, and many issues that continue to burden our citizens and make it unsafe for children to play in our parks. Children should be free and not have to worry about getting stabbed by needles in any of our public spaces. Some of the issues that we've proposed are true needle exchange programs by having the user self-dispense. The other ideas we came up with the Nob Hill Association was drug zone free and having park rangers that could work with APD, collaborate with APD. So those are the things we wanted to talk about.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Athena Cristo Delu, is that correct? Is that close enough?
Yes, it is. Athena Christodoulou. President Sanchez, city councilors, my name is Athena Christodoulou, and I also live in District Number 4. And I want to thank my city councilor, Brad Winter, for all the many years of good work that he's done in my district. One other thing that I want to bring up is that I'm actually a candidate for City District 4. And so this idea of having ranked choice voting is very close to me, as I understand that it not only eliminates the need for a runoff and saves the district money, but it keeps the voting and the election process, the campaigning, in a much more convivial, congenial manner, so that I will remain friends with one of the other candidates. So in that sense, I would like you to pass the ordinance and not leave it to the November election to enforce or to begin ranked choice voting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Eric Shimamoto, followed by Maureen Showran. Hi.
Madam Vice Chair and Councilors, Eric Shimamoto, that's correct. And I'm also here to support the adoption of ranked choice voting by way of ordinance. It will be 1954. As others have already mentioned, Albuquerque already has a 50% runoff election system. So really the biggest effect that this has is it doesn't force voters to come out a second time during the holiday season, and it saves us the money of having to open the polls a second time. And as others have mentioned, that could be up to $1 million, especially when you figure in all of the candidates who have public financing that would be funded for the runoff period. So I urge you to do this by ordinance for this year's election, and also to those councilors who have concerns about the process, because doing it by ordinance allows the council to retain the ability to adjust the system if there are tweaks that are desirable in the future before the mayoral election in 2021. And I understand that County Clerk Stover is ready to administer a ranked choice election this year. So that flexibility that I mentioned is created by state law that allows this legislative body to adopt this system this year. So let's save $1 million this year by enacting ranked choice voting by ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Maureen Skolran, followed by Stephen Blanco, followed by Paul Ryan McKinney.
My name is Maureen Skowron. I'm in District 8. I'm here to support ranked choice voting, specifically you making the ordinance. I should mention that I'm also a council candidate. I'm in a two-person race, but whether there's 2 people, 10 people, I still think it's a good idea. And here's why I think it's a good thing for you to do and not for us to do. Now, normally, you want to give voters more choices, but this putting ranked choice voting into effect will not harm anyone. It won't harm any candidates. It doesn't favor any particular stripe. And it gives the voters more choices. Not only are you saving them a trip to the polls, but you also don't have to worry about wasted votes or strategic voting. You don't have to figure out, well, is this person really electable? You can just pick who you think is the top people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's the way I see it, and thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Mr. David Tenorio, followed by Rich Weiner, followed by Marianne Maestas.
Okay. Hello, members of the council. My name is David Tenorio, and I live in District 5. So, Albuquerque's voting turnout during the last mayoral election reached 27% of registered voters, which is not very high. Furthermore, more than 2/3 of the voters who did turn out were white, and more than 2/3 of those voters were also over the age of 50. So we have a problem in Albuquerque regarding voting and our elections. These numbers are undeniable. Voters who turn out for elections and are ultimately making the decisions as to who is going to be elected do not at all reflect the demographic makeup of our city. So remember, 68% of the voters who turn out to vote here are white. Albuquerque is over 60% people of color. 68% of the voters who turn out to vote are over 50. Almost 50% of adults are under 50. So if this governing body is serious about upholding the values enshrined in our U.S. Constitution and state law regarding voting rights, I hope it will make governing decisions that will increase access to the polls to the voters who are currently not participating in our democratic process, people of color and young people. Ranked choice voting is proven definitively through hard data collected in cities that use it compared to cities that do not, to increase voter turnout and increase the diversity of the electorate. I encourage this body to consider the merits of passing this bill by ordinance, as state law allows, and as is required of you as public servants to uphold your oath of office and to keep the best interests of your constituents in heart. Being part of District 5, I know that our district in the 2017 election would have saved plenty of money on our runoff election. Voters have already decided that we want a runoff system that yields a majority winner, and we already have that system in place. You can make a decision about which algorithm to use to best serve the community and save our government money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rich Weiner, followed by Marianne Maestas, followed by Gus Petrati.
Good evening, Madam Chair, City Councilors. I am a longtime supporter of ranked choice voting. I want to thank, I live in District 6. I want to thank my councilor, Pat Davis, as well as Councilors Benton and Winter for sponsoring the ranked choice voting ordinance. And I want to also urge you, as others have done, to do it by ordinance, not putting it to the voters. And several of the reasons. One, I want to see this happen this fall. One thing that pointed out that the mayor and city clerk have indicated that they would not want to see the first implementation of ranked choice voting be in a mayor election. They want to see it non-mayoral election. That means if it's not this year, it'll be 2023, 4 years from now. That's a lot of years to go without giving the voters more choices that ranked choice voting gives, as opposed to fewer choices. It saves money, it avoids the December runoff. There are many reasons for that. In addition, if we're going to put the issue to the voters, there's going to need to be a strong education campaign and money expended by the city in addition to the cost of the ballot, because there is prone to be lots of misinformation out there by big moneyed interests when these ballot campaigns happen. And Santa Fe spent considerable money on an education campaign and succeeded. So we would need to do that in addition, but I would prefer to see us go straight to an ordinance and get this done as soon as possible. I also want to point out that two incumbents who are running are supporting ranked choice voting, and also two insurgents who are running have indicated tonight that they also support ranked choice voting. So I don't see the likelihood that it necessarily supports incumbents or any one particular person. It supports those who have broadest support. That's the important point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Marianne Maestas, followed by Gus Pedrati, followed by Tad Kaminsky, and our last speaker is Juan Aguilar. Would you all come forward, please?
Hello, council members. My name is Marianne Maestas, and I currently live in District 2. It's my understanding that the city of Albuquerque will save a considerable amount of taxpayer money if this body decides to adopt ranked choice voting, as many of the people before me have stated already. I've seen figures ranging from about $500,000 to $1 million. With several candidates running for at least one of the city council races, we are almost certainly going to have a runoff. I also understand that it is the county clerk, that will be administering the election and the runoff as well. The county clerk has stated that even if there's just one council race that goes to a runoff, her office has to open all voting convenience centers in the city for that runoff, as per state law. This means staffing all 19 of them. There is no way to administer a runoff election on the cheap, and Albuquerque will have to pay for it. The city clerk has said we shouldn't implement on a mayoral year because it is too big an election to be doing this for the first time. But it is the county clerk's office that will be administering the election. And her office has said that they are prepared to implement in 2019 or 2021. It doesn't make a difference to them. Why not adopt ranked choice voting by ordinance for this upcoming election? Putting this question to the voters without investing in educating the voters on the issue is not leadership. And it doesn't keep the city from spending close to $1 million on an unnecessary election this year. These taxpayer dollars can be saved by not having to spend it on administering a whole second election. It could be used for educating the voters on the new system and engaging voters to actually participate and really empowering them. This would be remarkable and show a tremendous amount of leadership from this body. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gus Pedrati, followed by Tad Nowinski, and followed by Juan Aguilar.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Hello, councilors. My name is Gus Pedrati. I'm a recovering candidate. And most importantly, first of all, wow, what a public comment tonight. I've learned so much, and it's made me legitimately excited. I knew that ranked choice voting was something that I was into, but I didn't realize how good of an idea it was until I just hung out. So I'm also kind of ditching class, so thanks to everyone who gave me a good reason to ditch class. But I'm enthralled with this. We have precedent around the state that shows us we can take this action. We have precedent in our communities asking for reform in the way that we do elections towards majority. And we also have an electorate that, even though 27 is a low percentage for turnout in the mayoral election, we have an electorate that's saying we're increasing. We want more. We are ready for more. And that's why ranked choice voting is so exciting, because it is this new path to engagement. It no longer gives us a limiting binary where we have to make a decision and say we've done our duty, and voting is the least we can do in this electorate. You know that. It's not the most. It's an obligation more than anything. And it gives us the opportunity to find out why it matters for us to engage this discourse called campaigns. Campaigns are not about name recognition. Campaigns are about us putting forward competitive ideas from our communities, engaging our communities to find the impact of those ideas and affect them. And that's why this body exists, to steward the effectiveness of those ideas. And clearly there's been a community that has come forward tonight with their facts ready, with historical trends, and is asking you to make sure that cities remain the battleground of democracy and are the most fun place we can live as an electorate. Because we get to move at the rate of change that is important to us, that is accessible to us, and keeps us excited about our future. So I am so happy to stand here before you today supporting ranked choice voting, ensuring that this is hopefully something that you pass when this gets to come to vote next, because it is important that we get it done this election. Don't put it off for another 2, 4, 6, 8. I don't know, if it doesn't get done, when does it get done, right, counselors? Like, that's the motto. Get the work done when you can. And see that we have a more engaged electorate thanks to this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bertrani. We love your energy. Mr. Nowinski.
Thank you. My name is Ed Nowinski. Well, I hear plenty about how.
Mr. Avila.
Hello, Madam Council. Thank you for giving me the time today. I'm here in support and talking about ranked choice voting. I'm here, excuse me if I begin to mumble my words, I just got a long day at work, but I was here under the understanding I was here to ask you guys to pass that as a city ordinance. But to my surprise, I see that you guys are putting it up to the voters to do so. And I want to ask what's the dislike to ranked choice voting? I encourage any of you to come up and talk to me and give me anything that could potentially come that would negatively affect our community from ranked choice voting. It encourages people to participate. It encourages people to be part of the democracy. And from my side of the stage over here, it just seems like we're afraid of a little competition. I mean, that's ultimately what ranked choice voting is bringing here. It's opening the doors for people like us to be able to be part of this council, be part of the community we're so engaged with. There's so many people against, and I've heard some people mention a few articles from a gentleman, Pete Denali. I looked into it. I mean, he was born in a generation where half of the population in the world wasn't even alive. I mean, our system has changed so much that we have to embrace the change that we're asking for. And we have to look at something different. We have so many great people running for council, and we have to give them a chance. And I think this is the way that we're going to do it, and this is the way we're going to encourage it. And if you don't pass this in an ordinance, I welcome the competition. We will be out there canvassing. We will be there knocking on people's doors, making sure this does pass. So you either start now, or we'll see you next time.
Mr. Avila, thank you. Councilor Jones and Councilor Gibson, they have comments.
Just one comment, sir, and that is someday you will be older than half of the generation, and you will also be obsolete. If you're lucky. If you're lucky, so thank you, no comment. Just want to let you know, if you're lucky, this happens. If not, you don't have to worry about it.
Councilor Gibson.
I absolutely have to go along with that, but I need to make one little bit of a correction there. That was also during the time when we had pterodactyls flying.
Mr. Avila, I just want to let you know that both bills are going to be considered, so just for your understanding and clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we are going to move on. That concludes our public comments, and we will move on to announcements, and we have 3